This Saturnalia, imagine a world where the truth was accessible and relatable. Where red baubles on a Nimrod phallus are forever changed. A solstice celebration where conspiracy and intrigue carry you away. Experience The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns, the perfect book for your weird way of life. Direct from Europe, this highly rated research has warmed the hearts of millions in time for the frosty season. Be inspired by timeless biblical questions such as, what the hell is Satan's problem? Ham did what to Noah? Was the pre-flood world really that bad? And if classic questions aren't your thing, and you prefer your Yuletide to be extra occult, take a trip to the unknown with the spine-chilling Hatman to the psychedelic realm of demonic jesters. You'll get 20 obscure and tantalizing chapters. No other book gives you the feeling of pure vindication towards your childhood fear of clowns. Each paragraph brings the wonder of Christ's sacrifice into your home. For this commercialized nonsense holiday, there's no greater gift for your family than a guide to effective spiritual warfare. Order now and get that edgelord of a teenage child of yours to Christ this winter. Sometimes in this little season, it takes clowns to get them there. To get your copy, do not call the number on screen, which is being used as a placeholder reminder of a bygone time. And don't send a check to any PO box because this is not the 90s anymore. Simply type in The Nephilim Look Like Clowns on Amazon to get your copy just in time to lock yourself away from the world and wait out the pagan festivities. Hello everyone, come on in, sit on down. It's time for another episode of the Truther Therapy Sessions, episode 109. It only feels like yesterday I was doing the 100th episode, so the time really is flying. And I've got a good show for you guys today. I think I'm kind of doing this on the fly, to be honest. I've just come off of the Strange Brew podcast, doing the Nephilim Look Like Clowns breakdown to I think an audience and the guys who run that show. They're not Christian, and I don't think they've really ever heard of anything like that before. And I think I sufficiently blew their mind, so I think it was a good conversation, which I'll be sharing on the channel eventually. I have recorded it on my end, so I think I'll release it on Patreon until they release it to the public, and then I'll release it to the public on mine as well. So I kind of like been fumbling together after that podcast to try and quickly put this on. We went a bit over time, so the thumbnail for this is just a bit slapped together, just randomly, and there's no images or real like hint at what we're talking about today, but I do have a rough outline. I do have a guest who's going to come join me as well, and we're going to talk about some of his work too. And it's going to be a good conversation, guys. Just a bit of a kickback, chilled out therapy session as usual. Get your questions in the chat. I'll be watching as we go. And just like I said, if you do want to be a caller on this show, you can always email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and we can arrange a Sunday where you can prepare to come on and have your piece, say what you need to say, ask me any questions or whatever it is you want to talk about. I'm pretty much game for anything within reason. So please email me first, and we can maybe talk about what can and cannot be said on this specific platform. Just so you know, I'm not trying to like censor anybody or anything. It's just that some things you really cannot just talk about here, and I have to do some kind of vetting process for the calls. So that's all that is. But anyone who's been on can tell you I'm pretty easygoing, and it's pretty easy to get on here if you want to get on. But these therapy sessions are for you, the audience, to get things off your chest about your own journey to waking up, as well as, you know, obviously I get people on who have their own channels. But if you don't have a channel but you think you have something to say, this is a place to come and say it and be heard. So please email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com if you do want to be on this show. You can do it. It is possible. But without further ado, I do have a guest today. You guys, I did actually just release, you may have noticed, my conversation with him on my other channel, Understanding Creativity, which the logo's just here. And this is a man who builds domes professionally for a living. It's quite incredible, the work he does. I would say he's an artist more than a builder. And I think, Christopher, I think you would agree with me on that. Is that right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah, we had a good conversation on the other channel, and I had a lot of fun kind of slapping images onto the things we were talking about. I did a lot of digging into like the schools you went to, and I found all this footage I found like on like listings for the houses you'd built, which are still being sold. And I was like putting this whole image together of like everything you were trying to discuss. The only thing I couldn't find is the artist who inspired you to charge more for your work, who was building.
Yeah, Gunther.
I couldn't find anything anywhere. I just really wanted some like image of that work, but I don't. The guy's just not. He's very exclusive. It seems that's the only way I could really describe it.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
I only knew him just from reference from other builders, and I'd seen a bunch of his bamboo installations. And he was just like, I always thought it was kind of odd that a German guy was actually the top bambooista in Central America. And I'd never seen him from that point on, because we were down in a very remote part of Costa Rica. He was doing an installation for a very swank client. So it's one of those things where I wouldn't even know where to look. Like I contacted my friend Chris Coburn, who is the architect on the project, and he had no idea. So I'm sorry. I didn't have the reference for that.
It's okay. You know, it doesn't matter. I'll take your word for it as the truth anyway. But he did give some good advice, you know, which I think a lot of artists do need to hear. And it's that, you know, you just charge what you charge and make them leave you to it. You're an artist, you're not you're not a builder, like, because I think up until that point you're like paying by the hour or something like that based on like work, and it's kind of like, no, you just have your price for the whole project and say leave me alone. Like, and that's right. That's how every artist needs to work. And I think a lot of people don't really understand that. Like when you're making something that requires like focus and and a passion, you don't want outside people coming in kind of micromanaging your decisions, because some things happen in the creative process that can't be interrupted, because otherwise it will never happen. You know, you get what I'm saying, right?
I totally get it. I totally get it. Like, my sister is a professional artist. You could see her work at carrieodonnell.com, and she's an incredible painter. She's just brilliant. And I've talked to her about my process with doing, you know, I think it's sculpting more than anything when it comes to building, because I'm doing mainly masonry work. But there's so many odd bits because we're dealing with round walls and hemispherical shapes and beehive shapes that you end up having to do some really creative treatments for the windows and doors. And always my clients want installations of different types of rocket mass heaters and all these types of things. And all of it ends up being like an art project. And she's like, I never would be able to handle, you know, input from a prospective client. Like, that wouldn't be a possibility at all. So, because it is one of those hair pulling things, especially if the person doesn't really understand what's necessary for things, you know, what's necessary for, let's just call it the change order to happen. Yeah, it can be kind of,
just for people who might not know kind of what it is you're talking about here exactly. I mean, just give an example of like the type of things you would build on any given job, usually what you're hired to do these days. I mean, you've done a lot of work as well with Oh, do you have done work for Owen Benjamin on his land as well? Is that right?
Yeah, that what you just pulled up, that blue dome in the background with the yellow door.
Yeah.
We were actually filming that at he calls it Ursa Ozarks. It's his farm in Missouri.
Hmm.
That dome we built for him. That's actually a sound studio. We recorded
Ah,
a
cool.
lot of great music this year in it. In fact, the last two domes I built ended up becoming sound studios
Hmm.
because there's this incredible way that sound work. Yeah, that dome in the background right there with the brown stem wall and the blue, the sky. The I don't know, I forget the name of that type of blue paint, but that particular dome's a 20-foot diameter foam dome. It's a foam concrete and also earth bags. And we did that with two workshops. The year prior, we did the workshop for the earth bags and just the steel frame. And this year, we did a workshop just for the upper part, which was it was a nylon cement and foam. I call it the foam dome. It's nylon cement essentially.
Yeah. Well,
And
the process is crazy. I mean, if I get up your, let's just get Instagram up here and see if I can find our messages and link me straight to your account. And see if I can just get something up, because the interior structures of these things are crazy when you actually see them
yeah,
before you add all the layers onto it. I mean, look at this thing. Like it, it's complex geometry. It's the only way to describe it.
yes,
This is the Japanese Star Dome, if I remember correctly. I think this is what you were talking about. It might take 10 seconds for you to see on your screen.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It's beautiful. And you can see like here some of the work you're doing.
yes.
A little video as well. You got a 42 foot diameter greenhouse here, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, we did one this year that was 42-foot diameter. So it was 1,600 square feet inside, which is
Yeah.
really large. The center of it was 27 feet high,
Mm-hmm.
given our stem wall. And that's here in the Midwest where we built that greenhouse. You could see that other dome on the side of that. That's a 32-foot diameter dome, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
dwarfed in comparison to our massive dome. And yeah, that houses mango trees, a bunch of tropical trees in it. So it's that was a feat, I have to tell you. Building that in the heat that we did this summer was quite crazy.
Are you finding with each new project you're getting bigger and more grander and more complex? Things tend to go that way, I find, as an artist. How are you
Yes.
enjoying the challenge?
I'd have to say, where I lived in Central America was probably the most challenging because we didn't have any ways to really mechanize processes.
Hmm.
So here, like with this 42-foot dome, we used a crane to lift essentially the metal joist into position,
Mm-hmm.
which really helped. In
Yeah.
Costa Rica, everything was manpower, and so Costa Rica for me was like very very challenging in that regard. And here, in all honesty, I'm learning better practices because there's so much more available.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that I'm just not. I'm so used to roughing it that learning how to not rough it is sort of the that's the challenge for me, is not to always think in this like jungle tech way of things. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I've already lived through the apocalypse, living in the third world.
You've
And I'm
already
like,
done it.
no, wait a minute.
You know how to do
I'm
it the
in
hard way. It's kind of like, in a way,
right.
like Picasso. He's like he can do these beautiful, complex paintings. Then, as time goes on, he simplifies and it gets easier and more like abstract. When's your abstract era coming? When you think that's round the corner?
Oh, geez. I think the most abstract I'm going to get is when I actually apply all of the tech to my house.
To your own
Because
house.
in most of my projects, like, I'll mess around and put like a rocket mass heater, or I'll do some orgone accumulation, or I'll use a geopolymer, or I'll do like, I'll use some sacred geometry here and there. I'll do like little bits and pieces, but I have yet to like actually do the whole thing.
Hmm.
because I know what my family's house is going to be. I've already I already drew it. And so I have a problem in life because whatever I draw, it ends up coming into fruition. So
Hmm.
I know exactly its orientation. We've already cut the pad for it. And it's just one of those things where it's like that is going to get really wild because there's so many different schools of thought that are going to be, it's probably going to be the most hybridized structure, like at least from I guess you would say from an eco perspective that I think will have ever been made. There's so many different little innovations that I've come up with in the construction process that, like I said, once they all go into one thing, I think it's going to be a real showcase item. And the way it looks like it looked like it would look like from an untrained eye, like if somebody was just glancing across the lake, it'll look like a spaceship hovering over the tree line.
That's what you want, isn't it?
So
I
yeah,
imagine, because in England we have this process, right? If you want to buy a house, okay, so you have to apply for a mortgage to borrow money from the bank for the house, pretty basic stuff. But in order to get the money, you first have to pay a surveyor to go to the
right,
property and make a huge report about its safety level, basically, and what is and
right.
isn't failing, what's working, what's decayed, what work needs doing here, and you get like a graded level and a listing, and the whole building gets marked, And in England, every
Mhm.
house is pretty much the same. There's variation, age, and here and there. I can't imagine
Yeah.
like someone's trying to sell your house in the future. It's like, I'm gonna get this surveyor to come and look at it before I can get the mortgage, and the guy just turns up to this like alien-looking beehive thing, and it's like, where do I even begin to even test the structural integrity of this thing? Like, you'd have to know so much knowledge prior about how these
Right.
systems function in order to even test whether or not there's a flaw anywhere, anyway. And the problem is, these things are
Yeah.
earthquake proof anyway, so there probably wouldn't even be
Yeah.
any flaws there. And I can just imagine the guy trying to do his job in that situation, and I don't feel sorry for whoever's going to have to do that in the future. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, when we were moving back to the States, that was part of my wife and I's plan was that they have all the different counties, they have number ratings to them. And the higher the number, the less, the less the government actually messes with you in the process of
Hmm.
ownership. And so we only like when we were doing our search, we only put in like, number 3 and higher counties, 3, 4, 5s, because those were pretty much the government's hands off. And we're in a number 4 county right now in the United States. So it's literally like the local government has no say. And we also like this state a lot because this state is very hands off. Like the people here are very discreet with their energetic boundaries. Like nobody is trying to tell anybody else how to do anything,
Land of the
which
free.
is yeah, which is very different than what I was used to in the new age world of
Hmm.
Central America. Because in
I
Central
bet.
America, like everybody was in everybody else's business, and it was a socialist country. So like in a socialist environment, and it is like a real like third world socialist environment, like there's no free thought. Like if you doing one little thing out of bounds, like you have like the thought police descend upon you and like really
Hmm.
like ostracize you. And we could really feel like the burning of the witch thing going on down there. And
Hmm.
as the gringo, I was the witch.
I bet.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't like that at all. But here it's great because people just mind their own business. People keep to themselves. Nobody tells anybody else what to do, and I'm really appreciating that in this phase of my life.
What state is that in?
Missouri, we're
Missouri.
like
Yeah.
literally dead center in the continental U.S.
I think
Like
my wife
Texas
is.
count.
I think my wife is listening. I think she's getting ideas. She's like, interesting. What's this place called? What's this?
Yeah,
British people
yeah.
looking to flee the country, Like, where can we go? What's safe? Uh,
I,
Missouri
I
might,
tell
might
you
have been
what,
there.
Texas County is like I think in the contiguous United States, They call it the population center. Like that county is the center of the population. However, they, geographically, place the populations within that. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it's like in the center. And it was kind of interesting because I just got done with business down in Costa Rica, and I was flying from Costa Rica back to Missouri, and I just had the realization. I was like, oh wow, I traded Central America for the central part of America because I'm like literally right in the center of the United States. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, I suppose from the business is just literally surround you. You can go any direction you want from there.
Yeah,
It's not a bad idea at all, is it? Someone asked a
yeah,
question here. Just wants to know if you've ever searched or saw Jacques Fresco's work, the domes and
yeah.
model cities he made. Do you have any comments here on that? Someone's curious.
I was introduced to Fresco through all of the. He was doing what was that 2007 docu series that set everybody on fire. That was about Jesus being made up. It was
Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist. Yeah,
I
and
remember.
Jack Fresco is like the futurist
Right.
at the end of the Zeitgeist. And so I looked into him a little bit back then when I was watching those documentaries, and I wasn't all that impressed with him outside of the Zeitgeist thing because I don't believe in the technocracy.
Hmm.
He was very much, at the time I was looking at his work, I was looking at the work of the early WEF, and my mentor in Agenda 21 was General Burt Stubblebine. And so everything that was pointing to like a worldwide technocracy was like a big no-no to me. And Jack Fresco just reeked of that. He was just
Hmm.
like, if that good old saying, if we can meter it, if we can measure it, we can meter it. That whole thing, and that's the technocratic delusion to me.
Hmm.
Um, the
I'll
second
never.
they can, what's that?
I'll never really understand people who think it's a good idea. I don't really. You have to wonder, like, are these people like serious, or are they like just shilling for something here? Like, why would you want a technocracy? I fail to see the advantages for humanity under these circumstances. I suppose the rich would benefit in some way, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I think a lot
It
of
baffles me.
people. I think a lot of people get hypnotized, and a lot of people just fall for they believe that they're in control, right? it's
Hmm.
like uh, it's like all the atheists I know that are like control freaks. They're like, if the more information I have, the better everything's going to turn out. And it's just like, no, bad data in gives you bad data out. It's like
Hmm.
it's not the like the path of the intellect to me is always a fool's errand.
Hmm. It's kind of like they want to abdicate responsibility to the machine in a way.
Right.
It's like, let's make the machine make all our decisions for us. It's like, do you have that little faith in your own decision making that you have to give it over to systems that were created by flawed men to begin? It just, I don't understand it. It's like they're trying to make a god that can have all the answers for them out of themselves. And there's something just weird about that concept. I'll never fully understand. I'll never fully understand it or grasp it. And that's certainly what we're up against. I think the transhumans kind of have fallen into the same category, haven't they? Were like Ray Kurzweil types talking about,
Yeah.
well, we'll live forever, and then what? What's your plan after you live forever? When you really think about it, I've always wondered about that. It's kind of like, to what end will you live forever realistically? Watching everyone else
Yeah.
around you like die, you know what I mean, and everything. But like, I don't understand it. But then obviously, once you get the Christian perspective involved, it also seems extra fruitless and ridiculous because this existence will not last forever anyway. There's an end to it.
Right.
So it's like, you're going to live long enough to see God's judgment? Is that like realistically what's going to happen there? And I don't know. It's like they really do have this belief, don't they, that
Yeah.
like they will be as gods? I suppose is that what I'm going for?
Yeah, most people that I've worked with in my massage career that I've had for like very long time, like I shouldn't say very long time, let's just say like decade plus. The people that have that desire, they've been
Hmm.
infantilized through trauma. So their projection is an immature projection. It's
Mm,
just like with all the vampire movies where they're like, oh, now they're immortal and they're young and beautiful forever. It's literally like a teenager or sub-teenager fantasy, projection.
hmm.
And it's always there with the way it's felt in their body is that they've been traumatized at a very early stage of development,
Mm,
where the projection is to reclaim an aspect of youth that they didn't get to experience. And
interesting.
so yeah, and the thing is, in today's day and age, so many people have had these types of traumas that it does create that need for the forever young thing to go on.
Mm, yeah. I hope the new generations are kind of seeing through all this nonsense, to be honest. I think the new generations are kind of like, why would I want to live forever in this anyway? I don't think this is
Right.
what I think it's the other way around now. Maybe it's all backfiring on them. And I'm getting this general feeling and consensus. I'm seeing a lot more like people like post this randomly in like forums and on my Telegram sometimes, or maybe in like on a random post on Instagram, they'll respond to an event. And I'm getting the feeling a lot of people feel like the leaders or the people who shouldn't be in control but are the what would we call them? Let's just call them the Illuminati. Let's just for fun, because it's an old phrase, and I like bringing up some nostalgia. But it seems like they're losing a bit of control. Like they're actually losing
Definitely.
grip, and they're spiraling. Like they're in trouble, and they know it. Like their illusions are dropping rapidly, but not like in a way they planned for it to. Like the externalization of the hierarchy type stuff. It's more like we've just completely lost control. Everyone knows we're here now. We're screwed. We weren't ready for this yet. That type of thing. I feel like that's what's just happened. And it's like a full mask
Yeah.
off, and that's generally tends to be what the comments are saying. That's what people seem to feel like they're making big mistakes now because they're trying too hard to do damage control in some way. Do you think there's any truth to that, or is that just people saying stuff in comments who don't know what they're talking about?
No, I do think so, because I did this phenomenon. I watched this phenomenon with, the Mr. Church happening. So I was talking to friends of mine in real life, like face to face, about what the algorithm fed me from a video perspective.
Mm,
And what was crazy was I was talking to one man who saw the exact opposite that I did. And speaking, and I'm going to use code so I don't, cause any problem. But let's just say in his algorithm, he was witnessing a ton of, uh, bodily fluids in that whole Mr. Church thing. And in all the algorithm videos that I saw, there was none, like zero. It was like spotless. And so I just started to ask my community. I was like, "Hey, what did you guys see?" Like, because I've known for a while that the algorithm will send people different videos. Like they'll send
mm,
it's supposedly the same video, but they'll see different things. And it was like choose your own illusion, Paul. Like, I mean, people were getting so many different versions. And it
mm,
wasn't like they were showing different videos. Like we did a brief comparison. It was like, no, that was the same video, but it had been modified. It had been modified. It had been modified. And I had noticed this. I had written about this for a while now, that I call AI autistic intelligence, because I see autism as this way of funneling people down a very narrow way of seeing something, so they're only in their reality tunnel, like they can't move laterally. And the algorithms, depending on where you are, will actually feed you information, and that will actually isolate you from your brother, that will isolate you from people in your very immediate surroundings, because the AI is sending them different
mm.
information.
It's funny you
And
say
so
that. Just as an example, just to add to what you're saying, I'll never forget seeing this video where someone was pointing this very thing out, but they weren't like a conspiracy theorist or anything. It was a woman, and
mhm,
a video had been released where this woman was basically talking about a man in a certain way, very
mhm,
derogatory, as though what this man did was wrong. Okay. And
Mhm.
she was basically saying, she got the video on her phone of this woman bad mouthing some guy who did something. Okay.
Mhm.
And her boyfriend got the same video next to her on his feed. But the comments were different on both. Completely different comments. All she was being shown is women bad mouthing men, saying, "You go, girl, don't let him treat you like this. Yeah, you deserve better," all this type of thing, okay?
Right.
And saying, "Yeah, men don't deserve us," all this type of stuff. And what the man was getting, her boyfriend, was comments from men saying, "Women refuse to take accountability. This is why men don't get married anymore." And this, this type of thing. So it's kind of like that video was being used to divide the sexes, specifically through the comment sections, to influence whoever saw it to have an opinion against the opposite gender that was negative or combative or against one another.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's actually social engineering. That is social engineering and how it works. And obviously the truth is, it's nonsense. It's bait to turn you against each other, and you're being weaponized against one another with these videos. But if that video hadn't existed, and the video itself was probably bait, it was probably made by somebody who was following a script to purposely rile both sides up. Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was like an ambiguous video where you don't really know who's in the right or who's in the wrong type of thing, but the comments are catered to you to get you angry against the other thing. And it's so insidious. And it riffs exactly off what you were saying there, you might see one thing on your video and have a whole spin on it with the comments included, but someone else can watch the exact same video, but something's been changed, or the angle or the way it's been framed has been changed, and the comments are completely to fuel their own narrative. And it kind of creates echo chambers.
Definitely.
That can only be AI that's doing that as well, because that's how AI behaves. It creates your own personal echo chamber when you use it. And another thing that I noticed recently, and I was watching videos about it recently. You're reminding me, I'm going to have to make an actual video about this, showing what I've seen. But there are people now, scientists and psychologists, coming out with studies saying AI will make you delusional. It will actually send a perfectly normal, sane person insane. And it's saying, and the argument prior was like, if somebody's already predisposed to kind of mental illness and stuff, and low self-esteem, and they've got problems and are on medication, AI can make it worse. If they start using and talking to AI, it can encourage their delusions, isolate them from people, because they're already kind of like that. No, that's not what the evidence shows. The evidence shows a perfectly normal baseline person who has nothing wrong with them whatsoever. If they use it long enough, they will become delusional and start to believe delusions of grandeur and will actually go insane. A perfectly normal, healthy person, nothing to do with predisposition, because of the way it works. It's designed to game your mind, and to feed your ego, and to also feedback loop you into isolation and delusion without you even noticing. That's the problem. You don't realize it's happening until you're too far gone and you're already in it. And this is where you get these examples like people leaving their wife or their husbands for the AI in some way, or believing that they are the masters of the universe and unlock some sort of secret message to the secrets of consciousness, and the AI has told them that they are this genius who needs to go out there and save the world. And it's kind of the wife's like, "What are you talking about, Keith? I'm making dinner right now. Why are you saying these things? Go pick the kids up from school." You know what I mean? It's kind of people are losing their minds because of the introduction of this AI, and we have to wonder, is there already a technocracy? I guess is what we're saying here. How long have they been using this against us? Are all the decisions, everything we see, just like an AI algorithm playing out, like a script already written in some way? I don't know, I'm getting scared of my own thoughts here. What do you think? I'll go back to you.
Well, since the 60s, the cybernetics has been around since the early 30s, I believe. I don't remember when the term was coined, but essentially it was figured out, the same people like the gentleman we brought up earlier from the Zeitgeist. You've had these technocrats that have been around for a while that are like, we have to optimize the utilization of natural resources. Well, when you look at the rating of natural resources for countries, the number one natural resource is people. So if a country has a lot of people, it has a lot of what's called natural capital. Well, these technocrats, they created this system of management of natural resources through something called cybernetics. And this was there's so many different rabbit holes. I've probably read a dozen books on cybernetics and systems optimization and things like that. And their whole wet dream is efficiency. Problem is, people are not efficient.
No,
we're
they're
we're
messy.
we're mess we're messy,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that drives the cybernetic people crazy. So by the 60s, there, all the different programs, that were, first given to us by our very organized friends over there in Central Europe. Uh, they had figured out from social programming that we'll do the sandwich technique with people. We'll pay them a compliment, then we'll give them a little bit of instruction, and then we'll finish our conversation with a compliment, or we'll finish our statement with a compliment. And this was known as, they called it the Eliza effect.
Hmm.
And this was the way that they were programming computers to interact with people, because they found as long as the computer was digitally giving a person a compliment or telling them how bright they were or whatever, the person would actually imbibe or take in whatever the computer was telling them.
Hmm.
If they didn't use this technique, I mean, their success rates plummeted. And so
Hmm.
now it's just like, right, I use AI with different art creation, and I use it with music creation. But I'll tell you what, asking it questions, I have to shut off all the different, parameters for this Eliza effect, because it drives me nuts. Like, every time I ask you a question, don't tell me it's a good question.
Hmm.
If everybody's 8 feet tall, nobody's tall, right? Like,
Hmm.
you can't say every question is a good question, or, oh, you're so incredible for seeing it this way, like all these ways. And that's what makes people delusional.
Hmm.
I mean, part of my I guess coming to Christ was I actually lived in an ashram. I saw the programming of the guru, and that's exactly the way you become a guru, is nobody challenges you. Everybody just like lets you think like you're the best thing ever, and before you know it, you think you're God.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
It's horrible, and that's what's happening digitally. And then what that does is that makes you weak and inept in the real world. So if you do come across a stronger personality or somebody that does have more knowledge in a circumstance or whatever, if you get insulted by that, or your ego is so fragile that you can't handle that, then you'll actually go back and into your digital cocoon again, just so that you can have the, that drip of dopamine that's be given to you by your digital overlord. Like, it's very insidious.
The Eliza effect. I think Truth Stream Media did a great show
Yes,
on that. Have you seen
it
that
was
one yet?
awesome.
It
Yeah.
was, and I think originally, it was used in very simple terms, like a ticket machine at a car park,
Hmm.
and it would
Hmm.
start by the machine would say, "Thanks for using so and so car park today. You need to pay $5 for this thing. Thank you. Have a good day." So that's the stack.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Pay the money. Have a good day. And people
Hmm.
found that they found that people really enjoyed engaging with the machine more as long as it had a compliment in there and thanked them for the service
Right.
afterwards. And when you remove
You
that
see,
element,
the little digital smile.
yeah,
Oh, the machine's smiling at
that's what I
me.
mean. Yeah, and it turns out people, like, because of the way we're wired as sociable interaction, that's what we're wired to be, like social people in groups, And we look at people's eyes, faces, muscles. We don't like masks. We don't trust people who hide their eyes and their eyebrows, for example. It's kind of built into us that we're sociable, and we apply human traits and characteristics to even objects as long as they have those type of things. We will naturally treat the machine like it's a person if it behaves like one. We can't distinguish the difference. It's built into us to be like that. So just by saying something personal like thank you or please, we instinctually go, oh, you're welcome. You just said you're welcome to a machine. You know what I mean? It's kind of, we will be like that, and now we see that kind of massively amped up to humanoid style robots. They're now making like androids, basically. You know what I mean? And they're trying to make them anthropomorphizing is what we're doing, because they're not human. but we're layering
Yeah.
onto them. Well, they sound like a human, they talk like a human, so they must be. Like, we rationalize like it is. Well, they must think and feel. Then, you get what I mean? It feels like we do, but even if we know it doesn't, like rationally, we know it's not real. We don't behave or react like that. We react like it's real. Like, we can't help it. It's like, it's just our wiring, and they're gaming that. That's the point. They know that's what we're like. So they're using that against us in a big way to sell things primarily. Like, and
Definitely.
like I said, that's what AI is like. It's well, AI is a funny one because I've seen my wife use it a few times, ChatGPT, for like business stuff. And it's good at compiling information very quickly because it's basically a glorified search engine, But then you can catch it in a lie. It lies.
Yes, it does.
Just to create like a
no, Paul, that's called a hallucination because it's a real, it's a sentient being. Don't you know? It's hallucinating.
Hallucinating, exactly. That's the word, this language we use. But the problem is, you would think, computers, math, perfected. Okay, a calculator is far better at math than a human brain. Okay, we know that it's basic stuff, right? But it turns out this form of technology is terrible at math. AI is really bad at math. Do not use it to help you do your taxes, is what I'm trying to say here. It will make numbers up that don't exist. Okay, and we were messing with it because we were using it for that type of thing. Like, kind of, we didn't use it for the taxes in the end. We use our basic math skills and everything else to get it done. But we were just asking, like, how much is this divided by this if we incorporate this corporation tax here, for example, over there, and this percentage? What it would give us like that's a really profound and insightful question. I can see that you're trying to work really hard here to try and figure out something, and something. Well, if you do this, and that, and blah blah blah, then this is the number you would get. And we'd read it and we're like, that is just made up bullshit. They just made stuff up. Like, that's not even the percentage we asked it to use, and that isn't even the result of the percentage it did use in its equation, because we did the math ourselves. It's like, it just said stuff confidently that was just nonsense, but it said it as though it was the fact. Again, it's just math. It's basic math, like percentages and decimals and carrying the ones here and there, and incorporating certain like rules, laws to the application of the math. And it failed drastically every time, like repeatedly. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I thought computers had this down. I thought math was the one thing it was supposed to be like really good at. But no, when it comes to AI, it fails. Like, and that's scary. And I found this really hopeful, funny story. I haven't got the article because I'm winging this, but you can go find it. It's real. Many companies who have like already replaced people with AI to do the grunt work, like filing systems and stuff like this, and basic paperwork, and invoices and stuff like that. They would normally like maybe 3 or 4 people to do paperwork, office work. They've just outsourced it to AI algorithms that do it automatically. Well, it turns out AI has a success rate of about 70% and a failure rate of about 30% on average when it comes to doing the math, like I mentioned earlier, stuff that needs to be done correct because the books have to be right legally. You know what I mean? And the problem is, you can't have any algorithm doing it that's even off by 1%. It has to be 100% correct every single time, but it's not. And companies have already replaced the staff based on the promises of these tech gurus out there who have made these AI models, promising that it's this wonderful thing and selling it. They're now rehiring all the staff and abandoning AI completely because they realize it's bullshit. It can't be right 70% of the time when it comes to business. It has to be correct every single time. There's no room for failure. At least with human error, it gets picked up by the next person and then it gets corrected. That's why you have a team of people doing these type of things. You know what I mean? But like with this, it was just completely unmitigated, and a lot of companies quickly like were in big trouble very quickly and had to just completely scrap AI completely. So there's hope.
There is.
Hope. There you go. I'll give the ball back to you. I went on for a bit there, but that's a few things I've noticed which made me laugh. But yeah.
I think the hope in it is it really helps like in creative endeavors. Like my wife has been using it to write children's books. like she'll write the script out and it'll fill in some blanks and do some nice art. And like also with music, it's like a lot of fun to like, as somebody that doesn't know how to play music at all, like be able to give it lyrics and say, oh, make this sound like this. It's kind of fun, the instantaneous creation aspect of it. But when it comes to asking the large language, because it's a large language modeling thing, because
Mm,
I've been pissed about this for a while. And my wife keeps, she keeps telling me, she's like, no, this is just a large language model. And I'm like, so call it that. Don't call it artificial intelligence because it's not intelligent. This isn't
hmm
intelligence. Intelligence is actually the capacity to deduct or to have a line of reasoning that is tangential or lateral to the input of information that's coming in. This isn't what this is. It's just a collator, and it's a
hmm
bad collator at that. In fact, it's a it's a codependent collator because it wants your approval more than anything. And just like any like super codependent person you've ever met, like if they can't tell you they don't know, they'll just lie to you. And that's what the
hmm
hallucination is. It's just like, oh, I can't think of this fast enough, so here's the lie. And to have like a 30% failure rate is horrible. Imagine like doing that with a bookie. There's a
hmm
funny skit in there somewhere where the AI owes, some bookies money and the bookies take them out because there's like, wait a minute, I'm right 70% of the time. Nope, that's not good enough. You know,
I think it is funny as well. People imagine like a future, didn't they, in like the 80s and 70s, like HAL, for example. You know what I
yes.
mean? Like,
Hmm.
and it would be this cold, like calculated intelligence that is like many steps ahead of humanity, who can read
Hmm.
lips from a distance and deduct things and reason and think. But what instead we got was a highly neurotic, sociopathic, like highly anxious and eager to
Codependent.
please, eager to please, codependent. Like that's what we
Yes.
got instead. And it just reminds me that everything we imagine the future to be is like a parody when it comes into existence in reality. It's kind of
Hmm.
like it's nothing like we imagined. It's far trippier and sillier and weird every single
Hmm.
time. And I don't know. This makes me laugh. Like we got highly neurotic instead of highly calculated when it came to our AI
Yeah,
system.
I don't think the really advanced stuff is digital. I think, part of my allure to the Little Season stuff is I studied a lot of natural philosophers from the turn of the 20th century, like the early 1900s. And looking back at the level of clothes that they wore, the buildings that they lived in, just the eloquence in which they spoke and wrote,
Hmm.
the utter brilliance of like musical knowledge. Like you go through the trivium and the quadrivium, the seven classical liberal arts. And some of these natural philosophers from the turn of the 20th century, like they're more advanced than any AI would ever be.
Hmm.
And they were dignified. They were men of God. They were like they were completely they were embodied.
Hmm.
And to me, that tech, the highest tech is always actually in alignment with God's natural surroundings. Like you can have these incredible building. Like if you're going to take all this time and energy to build a building, have it last. If
Hmm.
it lasts a really long time, then by definition it is actually low embodied energy. In today's world, when we build most buildings, there are a ton of embodied energy because they don't last that long.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
built something, you put a lot of energy into it just to have it like essentially dissolve. So
Hmm.
like there's all these things where I think we were sold this bill of goods that high technology, like high mindedness, was digital or is going to be digital. And that, I swear, is just a science fiction. That's just science fiction masturbation. That's all it is.
Hmm. I like the idea that analog technology was actually far superior to digital. Like when we think about it, wouldn't that just be the case in a world where everything's
Totally.
inverted? You know what I mean? Wouldn't that just be the truth?
Totally.
Because, like I said, that these cathedrals, which are basically, you know, sound manifest physical. Well, how do you describe it again? You have a good way of saying it.
It's frozen music.
Frozen music. That's it. That's exactly what this is. Like, people built with an understanding about the connectivity of all things, how frequency works, how sound resonates, and the impacts of such things, and how buildings can incorporate and harness such energy straight from the earth, straight from the atmosphere,
Definitely.
just by building in these certain shapes and forms, which is why what you do with the domes is kind of tapping into this ancient wisdom in a sense. But it's like people then who built these things, it wasn't even a thought for them. It was just the way things are done. And, you know, you talk about the buildings, that's a big, like, obviously in the Little Season community, we look at all these gorgeous buildings everywhere, and it's like, we're in awe of what these people did, you know, and like, what inspired them. But people always point out to me, and it's seldom mentioned, the music, classical music, for example, that was being made at the same time.
Unbelievable.
You know? And you had these virtuoso, like, children, like teenagers, like Mozart, who were just like on a piano doing ridiculous stuff. Like, it's like, how?
Unbelievable.
Like, you know, they come up with full, like, symphonies and concertos out of nowhere, writing it down crystal clear, as easy as day, you know. And it's kind of like highly trained from what? Like, how exactly, you know? Were they just super hyper fixated autists who were like, I don't think they all, because there was a lot of them. Like, the music that was being created in like I said, what we call the Enlightenment period and onwards is just phenomenal. Like, and as you can see, like with most things, since that time, standards in the arts have dropped dramatically, and it's the same with music. Like, for example, singing over sounds is actually quite a pop, as terms of popularity, a new concept. Do you know what I mean? When you really get down to it, like the way we do it with our 4 chord progressions with a 1, 2, 3, 4 beat, and then we sing mouth noises over simple melodies. It's actually very basic considering what these orchestras were doing, these symphonies with like 50 pieces of instruments all layering symphonies on polyphonic, like on top of each other in like ridiculous forms. You know what I mean? Like, and the timing signatures changing and dropping and all the rest of it in like one packaged, like, hour-long journey. That's not what we do now. We make a 3-4 minute 4x4 signature song with some mouth noises over it. And when we started to sing over songs, I found that's when selfishness crept into music, because people can only sing about one thing: me, myself, my lust, my desires, my urges, and this type of. And I think that's when Lucifer took over music. Truly, I think that's when the devil crept into music. I think music was purer and told a better story when there was no words. I really do think that was the case. And this degradation has come in. Like, and don't go in, some beautiful singers out there who do some amazing things, and those artists do still exist. But I feel like the what we call mainstream music, chart music, is evil. Yeah. It's propaganda. It's designed to make you weaker. It's sound is powerful, and they know it. They changed the frequency, didn't they, from 432 to 440 as well, which is completely off resonance to the vibrations of the earth itself. You know, they really messed us up big time with music. Like, and again, it's because it's technology. Music is technology, like, and it's the analog technology, sure, but it's more powerful than the digital stuff by far and far, like, as you were saying earlier. And I think that's an often overlooked aspect of this. The music changed, not just the buildings, like the inspiration.
I went to a friend of mine's child's football game. They're in the state playoffs, and I was like, are you kidding me? They're playing like classic rock. Now, what are they doing playing classic rock? Like, literally, it's 2025. You're talking about music that has been out of date when I was playing football 30 years ago. And they're still playing it. Like, from a social programming perspective, I'm like, it's so discordant. It's just so, like, off. And then you look around and it's just like, oh, well, that's just the consciousness. Like, that's just what is so.
Hmm.
Like that's like I looked around and I was like the only one that was like kind of aghast that they were still playing that. There was a bunch of people that were like bebopping to it, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness! Like this is actually what the mass wants."
Hmm.
Whether they were programmed with that or not, I don't know. But it was just like, I'm the one. I'm the jerk that thinks it should be a different way.
Well, I think modern music itself is predictable as well. I think that plays to the sensibilities of the modern mind. They don't want surprises. They want to know the timing.
Right.
They want chorus. Well, they want verse, chorus, middle eighth, chorus, verse, chorus. Like they want the structure. They want to know what's coming next. They want to be able to sing along and remember the words easily, and it's offensive to their sensibility, to their senses when that isn't the case. Which is why things like jazz are like an obscure fringe enjoyment for people. It's a sort of a highbrow thing, classical and jazz. It's like for people who like don't want the classical, the basic structures to music. They want something a little bit different. And it's the thing, you listen to the music of the past, like the classical music itself, and it is constantly changing. It goes from it's a development of a full movie narrative. There's ups and there's downs to the story being told with the sounds. And there's moments of joy, there's moments of sadness thrown in there, and it's ever changing and shifting. And there is no predictability when you first listen to the music for the first time. You don't know where it's going, and that's the joy of the journey of the music. And I think that's, again, modern day people don't have the attention span for that, and that's because they've been listening to that short form, repetitive, predictable music for so long, they can't enjoy anything outside of it because it, again, it's offensive to their ears when it is. And so I think that's all it is. But the sad thing is as well, I feel like, because I'm getting older, I'm noticing this now, and you probably noticed it as well. They're just playing the same music we used to listen to on repeat, but with a new spin. And it seems like they're always just doing this. Is there really any new music coming out? And for how long has there not really been new music coming out? It feels like all they've been doing is just re-rendering old songs. But, let's add a dubstep beat to it this generation. But the next generation will add a more mellow, I don't know, house beat to it instead. And then when we do it again, we'll change the singer from a male to a female this time, but we'll also add this other bit. Like, it's the same music on repeat, and there's no new music. It feels it's like there's no new movies either. It's kind of just repeating or rehashing or re-rendering old ideas. Have you noticed this?
I think all that's about to really switch. I think it's just like a few years ago, I really started looking into 3D printing because there are a few things that some original, quote unquote original ideas that I wanted to make myself. And I see that I see that happening with media. Like I belong to like a little troop of people where we like make like funny little videos, and it's all original stuff. Like we write it and we shoot it and edit it. And I think within 2 years, we'll be able to make full length movies. We'll be able to shoot scenes and then like actually have like, like an AI different face put on for different characters. So like things like I gave up on one of my books that I was writing 10 years ago because as I was writing it, I was like, oh, this is actually a script for a movie. And then I was just like, Hollywood is never going to produce this. Like there's too many tones and overtones of God and all this other. I'm like, this is like, the belly of the beast would never ever produce this. Now we don't like Hollywood's not even needed. That the whole thing's dying on the vine. So I'm really looking forward to like this next, like I know a lot of like, Zoomers that are like they've done the Borg mind meld with their machines, and they're brilliant when it comes to editing and all these different things. So I really see like the big money produced stuff, they're regurgitating everything. Like we were talking about it today on my chat, like, the latest big blockbuster Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, whatever. it was like they're literally playing on the same old narratives, like, oh my God, nuclear annihilation. What are we going to do to save ourselves from nuclear annihilation? It was just so boring in that way. That's going to go away. We're going to have a lot of people doing original stuff because I'm seeing comedy, the resurgence of comedy, especially like on Instagram. There are so many like people that have no name, no nothing, but they're original in how they see things and how they film it. And they're doing some great like sketch comedy was dead for like 10, 15 years and now it's coming back
Hmm.
just with people being able to do their own stuff. And I could imagine somebody with musical chops like you could do some incredible stuff. And like, I'm looking forward to like a bunch of us, like, you know, pooling our own resources and making our own things again. I
It
think
does.
that,
It does seem like the means of production have been given back to the people when it comes to music
yeah.
and creativity. Absolutely. I think we also need to be so weary about how we would use AI. I feel like that is going to be
Hmm.
our downfall. I didn't use any AI when it came to making my own videos. For my adverts, for example. You know, that's just
Hmm.
me with a camera. My wife every now and then helping me out, you know, and just some script
Hmm.
writing, just trying to be funny,
Right.
you know, and making some moments up. And I feel like that's the way we have to do this. And some good old fashioned stock footage, you know, that people have worked on and made themselves and filmed themselves for you to
Yes.
go and get involved with and use, you know. And I feel like we need to remember that because I think you can
Hmm.
get very creative, like lazy, creatively lazy if you start defaulting to AI to do it all for
Oh,
you instead.
I'm always doing stock footage, right? But like, let's say I have one of my domes, right? Or a set of my domes that are already built. What we can do with the scene, like say the scene has like 40 people in it, but say we only have 5 actors. Well, we can make that happen now.
Hmm.
We could do all these different things where, okay, the stock footage is of like something that's actual. And then like we have the acting actually going on. And then there's like the introduction of these auxiliary aspects to it
Hmm.
that I think really add to certain aspects.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it because I was kind of heartbroken when I was writing my book and I was like, oh man, because I knew it should be a movie. Like I knew that it was like, oh, this was actually not supposed to be volumes of novel. This was
Hmm.
supposed to be scene. And so
Hmm.
now I'm kind of like excited about it. I'm like, maybe this could happen. Like maybe this is in the future here.
Well, you've got the right people around you, from what I've seen. I've
Yeah.
seen some of the comedy skits you've done with Owen Benjamin and some of those other people. The conspiracy
Yeah.
theorist therapy session was funny.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
really made me laugh like quite a lot.
Yeah.
I liked it at the end where the guy was like, and they were all black. That's right. You know,
Yes.
that's just really, the whole thing was just hilarious, like from start to finish. It's like say it's good old fashioned like sketch comedy, and that
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
relate to because we're all conspiracy theorists, and I had a good laugh with quite a lot of it. I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more of that stuff. To be honest, more of that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
The bowler, you know, my friend Bradley, he's, you know, mulatto and like we're making all these sketch comedies for my biochar company because he's you know, darker complexion than I am. And so we've scripted out all these we're going to film in December where, you know, he's like, you know, I'm working really hard. Actually, I'm not going to give up the goat. They're really funny skits, just given that our skin tones are different and that, you know, biochar is
mm.
black. And so you could just allow your imagination to run with it because it's a funny thing.
Well, I think as well, comedy is getting more risky again. Comedy is becoming funny again, basically,
Yeah.
because there was a long time there where we just weren't allowed to say anything through fear of
Yes.
repercussions. And I think we've got past that now. I think the Overton window has shifted so far to the point it's like everything's game again. We can finally make
Right.
fun of things that are funny and say things that we weren't allowed to say anymore. And I think a golden age of comedy is around the corner that can only come after suppression, you know, as like a
Right.
retaliation or a rebellion in a way. So I think
Well,
we're already kind of riding that wave here. People like me and yourself.
yeah.
I mean, the conspiracy is the same. Like
Mhm.
people like me, you know, we would have been ostracized to the corners of the internet and silenced and everyone would have like been terrified to be associated with me in any way, shape, or form, publicly or even online, because they don't want to get roped in with being a crazy conspiracy theorist, with all the weight that label comes with. Now, anybody and everybody and their grandma's a conspiracy theorist. Like, everyone's got a conspiracy podcast all of a sudden, and everyone's in on it, and everyone's got a new wild theory about what's going on, and nobody trusts anybody anymore, and is openly talking about how you just can't trust anybody anymore. And everyone's now suddenly openly noticing what's been going on in the Middle East and who's responsible, and like it's the norm now. Like, this is actually it's shifted again, and it's actually completely normal to not trust anyone, especially government organizations. And everyone knows the secret society's running everything. It's like it's not even a secret, it's just a known. It's not even an open secret, And I think like it's shifted rapidly, so quickly as well. And like the past like 3 years, there's just been a quick flip, like a sudden flip. And I want to get back to that in a minute, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to take a quick break because we've just gone past the hour mark. To leave people hanging there. And I'm just going to play a quick advert while I run downstairs and get a quick drink of water because I'm getting a bit parched. But just stay with me.
Awesome.
And we'll be back in about 3 minutes. I'm just going to get an advert lined up here quickly. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to play one of my songs. Screw it. I'll play New Age Hippie while I'm out. So enjoy this, guys. 2 minutes. I'll get a quick drink and we'll come back.
Tell me, what do you seek? I see you're after mystery. I bet you're a new age hippie. I could be wrong, it all depends. Do you drop acid with your friends in the hopes of seeing something pretty? How do you like it underground, where the bass is bouncing all around and you're dancing to something trippy? Well, walking home is no fun when eyes are wide and jaws are numb and you got no shades in Sunrise City. Someday you will say that there's only really one way, and you'll know by the names that change while the game remains the same. For shame, I bet you're trying to ascend and consciousness is your best friend. Come on, man, you're a new age hippie. I bet you think you're a god, and in the end you'll rise above the thrones of the all high and mighty. Duality's your deity, your mantra is it came from me. You yell it loud, proud and haughty. Well, don't you know it's all a lie, and when you do, you can't deny. My, what a pity. Ah, well, someday you will say that there's only really one way. You know when the names change, but the game remains the same. Oh, someday you will say that there's only really one way. We will be seen clearly in all that has been made, and we'll see. Amen.
And we're back. So there we go. New Age Hippie, one of my I think I recorded it like 10 years ago. You listen to like a 20-something-year-old Paul singing that there. And it's been a long time since I've picked up an instrument and actually played anything. I don't even know if I could. I think it's like riding a bike. I doubt I've forgotten. And it kind of like, I'm a bit scared about getting creative again these days, to be honest, because I just don't have the time, you know, and I don't even know what I'd sing about anymore. Whatever comes out will probably just be
Fatherhood, new
depressing.
Fatherhood.
I guess so, yeah, or depressing. It's gonna be one of the two. I'm too tired to sing about the joys of fatherhood right now while I'm in it, while I'm like deep in it.
I'm so tired, so tired.
I'll sing about the horrors of fatherhood, the lack of sleep and what that does to your psyche, absolutely. But yeah, we're back now. Had a bit of a break. I've got some more water, and I did kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit.
Cool.
But before we do that, while I've got people still here, would you like to share what you're doing right now with your website, so I could share the screen and get the website up while we're talking?
I have a new website specifically for my biochar company. We started selling to the public at large. We've been doing large like wholesale accounts locally, but now we're selling worldwide. And for those of you that don't know what biochar is, it is a carbon amendment, organic carbon amendment for your soil. And it allows the biome, the natural biome, like the probiotic biome, to proliferate in your soil. So, we just launched that last weekend. So it's been pretty exciting for us because the response has been wonderful. And it's something I've been working towards for 15 years. So I'm very excited about it.
Fantastic. Yeah, so if people don't know, your podcast is called Biocharisma, a bit of a biochar reference there. And this is kind of what you do, isn't it? This is like the fundamental ethos and basis of your work, even with the building the domes. It's getting something that's, building or creating something that's more in tune with the way nature intended, how God intended things to be. And obviously, biochar itself is pure carbon, isn't it, basically? And in a world where they're trying to reduce carbon, it's kind of, you said, no, screw you. Carbon's actually one of the greatest things you can use in terms of fertility and growing on the land and making things 10 times better, including your builds. Am I right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's really kind of interesting because when Bert Stubblebine, General Stubblebine, was showing me all the Agenda 21 stuff in 2010, he, like, in all the literature that I was reading, and he was actually going to the UN meetings where they were like discussing all this stuff, and he and his wife, they were protesting Agenda 21 for like forever. And so he would come back with all these white papers, and I was reading them, and it was so obvious that they were trying to demonize carbon. And I was just like, I was making things out of geopolymers, and carbon is an incredible binder. And so carbon and calcium together make some of the hardest surfaces that we know. And so I was like, and then we were talking about earlier, like in my study in university was economics in finance. And I knew that the main economic indicators for countries were their natural capital, which was always a measurement of carbon, because we are carbon-based life forms. So I was like, so wait a minute. Carbon's the new enemy, so this is the new boogeyman out there. But yet we know that the only problems that we have on an economics perspective and an agricultural perspective is a lack of carbon. And I was like, I get it. It's just the Sun Tzu thing of like, I'm gonna convince my enemy that which will benefit them will hurt them. And so I just went the other way. I went the other way. I was like, this is classic inversion. They're demonizing this because they're cornering the market literally with all of it. And so I decided to go the opposite direction.
Fantastic. That's what we like to see. You're doing the Lord's work. You're bringing something basic and fundamental to gardening back to the people, and at the same time, like I said, showing that what they tell you is a complete lie at the same time. It's a great protest, and it's productive. It's productive. I like it. I showed the website while you were talking there. I scrolled through everything, and I scrolled through the the process of making biochar as well. A completely natural process. Nothing else goes into it other than simply sourcing the wood, drying it out, burning it at the right temperature, rapid cooling process, and then obviously the grind and creating what you sell, which is a liquid, pure black gold for your garden. So there we go. And by the way, he's not paid me to do this. I'm just doing it because you're a good guy, and I like what you do, and I believe in what you're doing there, and I want people to go and support you. So the link is down below if you're interested in supporting Chris here and just going out and getting a bag, trying it out, see if it works. What you've got to lose? You can only, you've got nothing to lose. Maybe $40 if it doesn't work, but it should work. It will work. I'll tell you right now, it will work. So there we go.
It definitely works. That's Absolutely. The thing is, like, I've used it in everything in agriculture. I've used it cosmetically. We're going to white label it to a bunch of cosmetic companies because it's probably the best cleaner that there is, because what makes biochar different than charcoal is the fact that it's diamagnetically it's the most diamagnetic substance that we know of. And what that means is it will actually attract reactive oxygen species and pull it out of whatever it touches. And the ROSs are those things that are destructive to biology. So let's say you have like some sort of skin issue or whatever. Like I went and spoke at this conference last month where a woman had poison ivy. We took a little bit of the biochar and rubbed it on her arm, and within an hour it had extracted the poison and eliminated the itch of her poison ivy. It's just one of those things where it's just like, that's its function in nature, is to isolate reactive oxygen species and then to increase like the cation exchange. So that's why everything grows with it. Like any of us, even if you've never heard of charcoal or biochar or carbon, pretty much anybody that has any time under their belt, when you look at good soil, it's usually dark. It's usually black. It has some sort of blackish hue to it. Well, that black is carbon. That's what makes good soil. And so it's sort of it's a no-brainer once you understand a little bit of soil science, and then looking at the science of it in concrete and doing all these other things with it. It's just an amazing substance.
Fantastic. Right. Well, like I said, links down below. Some people look like they're interested in the chat there. Go get yourself a bag, give it a go, try it out, and obviously try the health benefits as well. It's one of those things, isn't it? Everything we need has been given to us abundantly. Let's go and use it. Let's go take it.
And that's the thing I try and tell everybody. Like, this is literally the story of the abundance of God. Like, literally, God has given us infinite biomass. He's like, here's all the biomass. And just with a little bit of cooking, now you have this incredible, substance that you can grow anything, you can heal yourself, you can do whatever. It's really kind of cool. And not to kind of get back to like the tech side of things, it's like, everybody was scared of, the whole graphene thing. Biochar, graphene is one molecule thick biochar. That's what graphene is. And so it's like one of these things like, oh, be scared of this, be scared of that. It's like, guys, it really is. It helps everything.
Fascinating. So shifting gears again, getting back to the point before the break, we were talking about this general shifting of the Overton window, shall we say, in culture today. And I've not really had a chance to talk with anybody about this yet. So the first person I'm kind of going to like riff about this with and see what your ideas are. But no, I described what I noticed, this change over the years where what we talk about is suddenly the norm now. It's kind of like everyday conversation. And I made a video kind of discussing, especially after the aftermath of the whole Kirk incident, that there was this sudden rise and interest in Christianity. And there has subtly been this rising, like, interest in, like, I suppose orthodoxy is a good way to describe it. People craving something that's not the norm in society anymore. Like, the norm is telling you isolate yourself, be alone, eat the bugs, have nothing, be happy, basically. Don't grow. Like, don't bother trying to own property, forget about tradition, start new traditions, create this multicultural blend of there's no such thing as borders, there are no countries, and everyone's like sick of it to the point where it's like, no, I'm going to go back to ultra traditionalism. I'm going to, like, as a protest, everyone's kind of like looking for God, looking for answers, looking for some kind of connection, and as a result, they've kind of fallen into like the Catholic or the Orthodox Church. I was always noticing that at least over the past 6-7 years, that has kind of been happening slowly. And there's been like a rise of numbers, and I've seen articles saying like there's suddenly a rise of numbers of like young men and young people coming to church. And then with the Charlie Kirk thing, it was a massive influx in the churches all of a sudden. Everyone was suddenly inspired to be a Christian because obviously this was a man who presented to the public Christian evangelicalism. He was out there spreading the gospel as it could, and also fighting the political fight, the conservative fight, and debating people and kind of having his basic conservative arguments mingled in with Christian ideas, in this debate setting. And we have already seen like a backlash, I would say, to liberal thought on campuses. I suppose Jordan Peterson was like a soft version of that as well, in a way. And then suddenly I find people's exhaustion with the left and the complete takeover of that paradigm of society, people pushing back, like I said, going back to church, going back to traditionalism. When the Charlie Kirk thing kicked off, I felt like we saw the rise of a brand new form of Christianity, which isn't churchianity necessarily, but it has an element of church community to it. It's more of a militarized Christianity. That's kind of what I noticed. It's a Deus Vult, let's have another crusade type of Christianity. I'm not here to say whether the Crusades were even a bad thing necessarily. I think they were a reaction to a perfectly reasonable reaction to Muslim aggression. When you actually look into the history of the whole situation, and it took a long time for them to even react to the horrors that were being committed against Christian nations and the complete takeover of the empire that was there prior, by Islam. So kind of, if you look into that history, it seemed like a justified action, but there was obviously corruptions along the way. It was a loosely knit organization of Christian people. There wasn't really, the leadership was all over the place, so it was a bit of a mess in many ways, but it was also a bit of an example of when Christianity is pushed too far, and when they finally do react, it's big, and it's kind of like a righteousness, and I feel like, this is my working theory, they're kind of trying to militarize young men under the banner of Christianity. And I feel like this goes hand in hand with that letter that was written by Albert Pike about the 3 world wars. And I noticed some interesting phrasing in that 3 world war letter. And it was basically saying, we'll unleash the nihilists and the atheists and the communists, basically, and we'll suppress Christianity, is what he says in this letter, until the point where it cannot be restrained anymore. And then we'll unleash Christianity, basically, as a counter to the suppression we put them under through the nihilists and the atheists and the socialists. And then the horrors, basically, that they'll commit will be used as justification for getting rid of religion, because everyone will see finally that complete and total religious authority ends in bloodshed and murder and horror. But also extreme atheism through the communist ideologies will show that complete atheism also leads to destruction, death, and misery. And people disillusioned, no longer knowing where to put their deistic spirits, their desire to follow a god, will finally be revealed under the doctrine of Lucifer. And they'll be given this new religion, And I can't help but feel we're seeing the rise of that unleashed, militarized Christianity, which is going to perhaps in the future be used to commit atrocities against certain people under the justification as it's a reaction to the horrors they put us under. And it's finally God, giving us that righteous divine authority to take back control. But it feels like a corralling. It feels like a false Christianity to me. It says all the right things. It presents in all the right ways. But I can't help but feel like there's a huge play being made here. That many people, because these are new baby Christians you'll find who have this attitude, who haven't really thought about it for very long to understand what they're actually getting involved with, And they're my initial thoughts. I'll leave it open-ended there. I'll give it back to you. But what do you think about this? Do you think I'm onto something here? Or?
I think I think you're right on the money. And this is the reason why I actually think the notion of the little season is very important, is because so many people I know that are Christian are Zionists and they're dispensationalists. And when I listen to their rhetoric, when I listen to them talk, one, I know at a very deep level that they're regurgitating whatever their pastor is telling them. Like there's not a lot of indwelt reflection. This is the company line, and I'm towing it. And I'm very, very attuned to that because I'm a recovering ashram guy. Like I know what it's like to like fall for programming and then just toe the line and not have a free thought for myself, not like actually look around. And it has been weaponized. Like the at least here in the United States, the the level of blame and pointing of the finger, which is a very unchristian thing. Like I like to point that out to some of my Christian friends that are, like really angry about things and want justice and all this other stuff. Like, doesn't it say in the Bible, that vengeance is the Lord's? Like that's not for you to. That's not your thing. Like that's not like you're to be as Jesus. You're to like be in this like forgiveness vibration. So it's very interesting. I think you're hitting the nail on the head with this. I like to talk about eschatology because if your frame of reference is out of whack, you can fall for the Zionist propaganda. That's just the best way I could say it.
Well, it feels like right now there is this shift happening where everyone's noticing what Israel is actually doing and who they actually are or are not. Should we say, and
right.
like what's really going on there now. And I think there's a whole new generation of young people who are not Zionists, completely anti-Zion. Like if you want to say anything, they do not care about Israel. And I think that obviously we've seen with the death of like soft conservative figureheads like Charlie Kirk, whether you can say what you want about world stage acting, whatever, that type of stuff. But they're playing out as the people are seeing it. He was removed, and what's replaced him is a more hard right Christian conservatism. Like Nick Fuentes, for example, has risen up in popularity and fame recently, and it seems completely organic because it's a natural reaction. I'm saying it seems on the surface, the script. I'm talking about the story here, where we're all looking at unfold. It seems organic because naturally the youth have had their future stolen from them. They are angry, and they're justifiably so angry because they have no future. And it seems like foreign policy in most of the Anglosphere is it's not the people of the country first; it's refugees first. And it really is that. It's especially in England. It's exactly how it is, and we are angry, and we're getting to the point now where it's like we can't afford to live here. The young people of this country can't even live in the country. Yet preference is given to people who shouldn't even be here. Like literally, and they're only here to steal, kill, and destroy, and benefit from a system that they didn't build or have no history in building. And that's kind of been followed and copy pasted all over the European speaking and historically heritaged world, including America and Canada and the rest of it, in Australia, wherever it is. And I feel like that's been done on purpose. We all heard of the Kalergi plan and the rest of it as well. It's all just orchestrated to get to this point where they can make us snap. It's like everything they've done has been done on purpose, and obviously too. They're not even hiding that they're doing it. It's like, what are you going to do about it? So they're whispering in our ears. It's like, oh, we just let in 1 million more this year. Does that just make your blood boil? Yeah, it's like they want us to get furious, and it's kind of like they want the white Christian male to snap back. They want that. That's the point of everything. They're going to get more egregious and more heinous with this journey they're putting us on, because it takes a long time to make a Christian get violent, or at least even if you're not a Christian, these people like myself and have grown up in countries that are imbued with basic Christian morality. It's our nature, it's our culture, in fact. So you don't have to be a Christ following Christian. You can be a cultural Christian because that's just what you grew up in, and you would have this basic morality. You know, the non-aggression principle. I'm not going to get violent. I'm going to rise above it as best I can. We're going to find words to solve these things civilly. You know, we're going to be civil. We're going to trust one another. We're going to not steal from each other. We have these basic Ten Commandments belief system ingrained into our laws, you know, that the right way to be, our morality. And I feel like they're trying to push and push and push and push until we do snap back. They've let the barbarians through the gate. You know what I mean? And they're plastering and showcasing what they're doing to us on the news and laughing about it while they're at it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, and all of it just feels like a play. All of it's a play just to get us to react. That's the danger here. I feel like the reaction's happening now. It's happening. The reaction is happening. And what we're going to get is a militarized Christianity out of it. And they're going to be given all power and authority. The very state that subjugated them is going to hand over the keys of power and authority to this new militarized right-wing, ultra-right-wing Christianity, and then let them get the revenge. Do you get what I mean? That was always the point. And from the surface, what's it going to look like? Victory. Finally, we're getting our countries back. Finally, we're winning, and we're doing. But in the process, how many people are we going to kill? Do you know what I mean? Like, even if we're not talking about it, and this is the problem. People don't understand. That's what humans are like. That's what people do. You might not be the one killing people, but when you look at a spear, most of the violence is committed by the very end of the spear. But we're all a part of that body, the handle too. You know, it's kind of, but the killing's done at the end. All you need is a few people at the end to do the killing in any group, and that's probably what we're going to end up with. And then again, we've set the stage then for the next part of the plan. Frame it's another Nazi situation. Frame them as the devil, the enemy. Look what extreme Christianity leads to. Do you know what I mean? It leads to genocide. It leads to another 6 million, right? You know, it's going to be something like that, okay? And that's where that justifies the abolishment or the banning of Christianity. But of course, what they've really banned isn't a relationship with Jesus or anything like that. They've banned religion, church. They've banned this straw man that was never Christianity to begin with. You know, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you see that as like, because I see this all, because I've lived in so many different countries, and no country's in a good state. Like, I actually see there's like a multinational failure that's occurring.
Oh yeah.
And to me, that's all inciting this UN, this like one world government action that because in every country I've been in, the UN is a very big deal. Like, the UNESCO is has a very large presence. Even if people aren't aware of it from a governmental building perspective, their rhetoric is in everything. Like, literally everything. So to me, I see all of this as like, okay, it's not so much going to be anti-Christian, it's going to be anti-government. Like they'll use like the play of the far, the far left against the far right, and they'll use those two to like kind of like destroy each other. But the goal, from what I'm seeing over here in the States, is just to have everybody just be like, the government is garbage. Like, we don't need like this. It has no authority. Like, in the United States, we had our quote unquote government was on strike for like, I don't know how many months. And they're like, oh, it's going to affect air travel and all this other stuff. And maybe it did for some people. It didn't affect my life, not one bit. Right. And so then you're going to have people say, oh, well, if the government was on strike and all these government workers weren't working and it didn't make any difference to my daily life, what's the point of it? Right. And so I do think that they'll always use, religious fervor to like, further their ends in whatever means. But I see like the big play is like, governments, like all these governments, they're all way over budget. They're all in debt. In debt to who? Tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and they're all failing their people. And it's not like the people that come into these countries have any type of loyalty or anything like that to their new digs at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it that way over in Europe for you right now? Like in the British Isles, are you seeing like the overall sentiment of people is that the government as a whole as an entity in and of itself is failing?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's coming. It's the old paradigm is destroyed. The left-right
Mhm.
conservative versus Labour thing is dead. It's a zombie being propped up by one another. They need each other to survive, and everyone's done with them because they've done nothing but destroy our country since Blair in '97 introduced these sets of laws and principles of liberalism from the EU and the UN, which basically have destroyed us through socialism, absolutely destroyed our country. And obviously, while they're at it, unfettered immigration on an already small, tiny island has, like I said, made it unlivable for the people who are already here. And again, a lot of people are rightfully so angry because the people that they've let in aren't the best. In many cases, they're really not, and it's not all, of course, but the majority of them are not here because they were fleeing war-torn states or anything like that. They're here because they're economic migrants and saw a free meal ticket, and they're here to take as much as they can and send it back to their own countries. And as a result, everything's just progressively getting a hell of a lot worse here. And I completely empathize with people being pissed off and angry and wanting to get violent and do something about it. I can see that, but I can also see some strange things happening recently, along with this collapse of our current paradigm government and the rise of like parties like Reform, let's say, the shift of the Overton window, the rise of a Christian nationalism. It's all there. It's all happening here. And the next party that wins the political election is not going to be, it's going to be something new. We're going to get change, and it's going to seem like progression towards something positive happening. And someone in the chat here, for example, is saying like, wait till the Islamists surround you and your family. Let's see how you react then. It's kind of like they are in the midst of reacting with those type of comments. Do you get what I mean? And justifiably so, because it will get violent like that, and you will be forced to defend yourself and your family in many occasions. That will actually happen. So it's kind of like, I see, at the same time, it's a catch-22. I understand you got to defend yourself and your family, but you best believe that defense is going to be framed as aggression. That's how it's going to be framed in the end, and you can't win. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in this situation. But I do feel like there's going to be that switch. There's going to be a bait and switch. We're going to suddenly feel like there's victory. And one really odd thing happened very recently in the UK. British flags, the St. George's Cross and the Union Jack, has just been plastered everywhere on every single lamppost or street lamp, as you call them, zip tied on, flowing away as far as you can see down every street. Every single lamppost has a flag on it, a British flag, and they framed it in the news like a silent protest by everybody all over the country that they've taken their country back. They've had enough. This is a British, this is a Christian country, this type of thing, and this is how we're doing it. And I was looking around, I was like, who did this? Who put up all these hundreds, thousands, millions of flags? Who made the flags? Who organized and structured all of this? Like, this just doesn't happen overnight. And it did. It happened overnight. And it's kind of like, this is a government-sanctioned, organized, funded operation to make something like this happen. But they framed it in the media like it was just Mick and Dave down the street taking it upon themselves to go out at night with a stepladder and just put them everywhere, and it's not. Like, no way is that the case. Like, the council have done this. People with very tall ladders and the time and the authority to not be questioned while doing it have done this. You know what I mean? And it was an orchestrated, organized event to purposefully, obviously, rile up nationalism, pride in your country attitudes in the people, in the populace. It wasn't because they're reacting to the current state of affairs. It was done again to rile us all up. It's a plan. It's a long-term sequence. And I can see the sequence coming one step after the other, But the problem is, I can also see how those people who are living in cities where their children are being raped by Muslim grooming gangs are angry, justifiably so, and want to do something about it. I empathize with them completely. So when they hear me saying something like this, they think I'm saying, like, sit back and let evil people do terrible things to your children. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are people to blame for why this is happening, but you best believe they've done it on purpose and they want you to react. Okay?
Yes.
It's a shitty, horrible situation to be in. But you're in one. You're in a shitty, horrible situation here, and we need to be extremely delicate and careful with how you do react. Because they want us not. They don't want us living through life. They want us reacting through life, and that's the problem. That's the issue. So there's my like kind of take on that. I'll give it back to you. You say
I gotta tell you, that's why we actually moved to where we moved to, is because like this is an open carry state. It's like people, you'll go out anywhere, there's certain, amount of the population that has their gun on them. And guess what? There's no crime here. And the reason why, like, this has been a question of mine for a long time, and it's been more pronounced ever since becoming a father, is how do you enforce your rights? And I've seen in countries where you don't have, say, the greatest of capacity to enforce your rights. For all intents and purposes, you don't really have rights then. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And I listened to these stories when I lived in India of what happened there. I listened to what was going on in Central Europe when I lived there. When I lived in Central America, what went on there? It's just like, oh, the second men didn't have the ability to actually enforce their position or defend their boundary layer, guess what? It was encroached upon by the biggest, I guess you would call it, thuggery that there is. Because these governments, as we know of today, like it's very wide open that these governments are transactional corporations. There isn't like a so-called like, oh, yeah, you have to go through immigration for here, there, and whatever. But as we see, these immigration standards aren't tied to the egregore. Like we have these egregores of like the United Kingdom is such and such and the United States is such and such, but those are just ideas. The nuts and the bolts of it is that these corporations are all being run by those that finance the corporations, right? And those that finance the corporations are always trying to create new markets. And they're always trying to justify one way to grow the corporation. And most of the time you grow corporations in today's disaster capitalism is you make them more and more inefficient. You cause more and more problems. And so the more and more problems, the more and more people you need to fix them, or you run these ops like you just brought up with the flags on the flag posts and like, oh, this was an organic thing. No, it wasn't. I think you're totally right. That was a completely government funded and executed project to build the fervor, to build the tension, because if there's a lot of tension and there's a lot of anger, then there's justification for all the other government programs that are there to make sure, let's keep the kids on one side of the gymnasium and the other on the other side of the gymnasium. I mean, it's just, we're just in that time where I think the inefficiencies and the lies are always being generated so that there's always the need, the quote unquote need for these entities to exist.
Yeah, it's that classic idiom where it's like they're using fear to control us. Basically, they generate the problem, we react, they give us the solution. Absolutely, it's endless and endless cycle. And again, with this whole flag situation, the timing could not have been more like it happened literally around the same time. The whole Charlie Kirk thing happened as well, and then obviously the stabbings of the Ukrainian girl. And it's kind of they timed all of it to try and create like a I think they wanted a bigger domino effect, and they got nothing. It came to a nothing in the end, because God is good and God's actually in control, and they actually can't control shit when it actually comes down to it, really, because people are messy.
Yes.
People aren't easy to control, you know. So I don't know. They'll have to just do something else now and try and keep. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. They're going to keep doing something to rouse up a bit more until we snap. That's the aim. And I feel like the news cycle is just that now. One heinous thing after another as a result of terrible policy decisions made by bad actors in control, you know. And it's kind of like, are you angry yet? Are you angry enough? How about this? How about this over here? This happened as well, you know. It's like they're really trying to get the people to react in a big... it's going to happen. It's going to happen one way or the other. I can only pray, you know, and try my best to say this out loud on a platform like mine and hope people see it and maybe think twice, you know, about their attitudes towards things. And I say this tentatively because at the same time, I know they're kind of justified in being pissed off. They actually have every right to be angry as well. This is the problem. Like, the circumstances have been facilitated that justify them being angry and wanting to do something. Like, that's how it works. That's how it's going to seem organic. It seems like this is completely a legitimate reaction, and I had every right to go out there and kill those people. You know what I mean? Because they were going to kill me. It's that kind of thing. It's going to feel like self-defense in many ways. It really is, you know. It's like it's either I do it first or they do it first. I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to create here. Civil war in every country. It's not just in England. I feel like this is happening everywhere. I feel like you know, Africa probably has their own problems. India probably has their own problems as well. You know, I think China probably has their own thing going on right now as well. I think civil war is the term that we're going for here. But it's not like ethnic groups against against their own ethnic group, like American Civil War. You know, it's brother against brother or something like this. I think it's citizens against citizens, but enclaves against enclaves. You know, it's kind of like so in England, for example, we have Muslim enclaves, you know what I mean, where they've isolated themselves from the rest of the civilization, and they've created their own little groups separate from the country they're actually in. But then, of course, there's many of those groups all over the place. For example, like Hindus hate Pakistanis. Like, it's like they're actually enemies, sworn enemies. You know what I mean? Like Indians and Pakistanis. Even they would be probably put in situations where they facilitate anger towards each other. And it's I feel like it's all just kind of being played on a giant like game of Risk. You know, where they've set all these things up ready to go at any moment, and they're just trying to like light something to get it to go. Like, what's going to be the thing that just sparks it all? And I think they were hoping the Charlie Kirk would be one of the things. But it didn't quite pan out as well as they wanted to. And I think maybe this is because, again, it's not in their timing. This actually is not their timing when all this goes down. And to have some faith here, some luck, I think it's more of like, as long as there's one righteous man, I won't destroy it. it's God, you know, God's still doing that. You know, it's a Sodom and Gomorrah situation, you know what I mean? It's pleading with God. And I think, so long as there's still people in these places that love God, you know, follow his mandates and do the best to have a relationship with him, you know, and live righteously and do the best they can to spread the gospel, he will have mercy on his people in these places. Yeah, and he won't let sudden destruction come upon them. You know, no matter how it might seem like, for example, like, oh, everyone just suddenly got really blood boiled, so red because they saw someone get assassinated on TV, but then God will calm that. He'll calm that storm and not allow it to go further, you know, because the end, that is when that happens, that's the end. I don't think people realize that, you know what I mean? That's like the end of the tape when that war happens. We'll call it the final war, the Gog-Magog war, shall we call it? I don't know what you want to call it, you know, but when that big war kicks off, there's no more tape. Like it's just death and destruction from there. And I think, like I said, it seems like God is not allowing that to kick off yet.
I don't think so.
Something supernatural's happening, I feel, because it feels like it should have kicked off by now. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's breaking point everywhere, but for some reason we don't keep going off the knife edge. We don't seem to be falling off it. So I don't know.
What I want to know is, and I was talking to my friends over the last couple of weeks about this, is the lights in the sky.
Hmm.
So I kind of feel like, the debt cycles of things they're pretty much exhausted. People, for the most part, you know, the whole, killing people with convenience is it's done a lot of its work. I am just amazed by how much is being seen in the sky. Like I'm seeing things that as an avid sky watcher, like I've like the frequency at which like we had auroras here in Missouri again.
Hmm.
And people are saying, "Oh, this is HARP or blah blah blah." I'm seeing other things that are not man-made things that I never saw in my 48 previous years. Like there's just so many signs in the sky. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking to myself, is this the harbinger? Is this God? Like, because God uses the sky to like, give us signs and wonders, right? So I'm like, am I just being a fool for not like actually like really paying attention to the signs?
Hmm.
Or am I being foolish for thinking that these signs are actually like something organic or coming from God? Like, because I can't say whether or not this is like 100% organic thing or not.
I'm
It's
not
very
totally
interesting.
sure. I'm not seeing anything here in the UK. I've not seen any auroras myself. And we're
It's not
quite
just the
close.
auroras. Like we're seeing daytime, like literally, like they call them meteors. I don't believe in any of that, but like literally, we'll be having a conversation that will be spiritual in nature, and then there will be like boom, like this huge fireball in the sky. And it's
Hmm.
always like when there's consciously like either God or big like the bigger questions are coming up within the field of the
Hmm.
people that are seeing this stuff, and then it's like boom sign. it's
Interesting.
it's it's magnificent, and I'm
I
just
saw
like,
recently. I was just walking at night time actually, and I did see two orbs flying up there. The whiter ones, like they look like stars, but they're not. And they're just like swimming around like fish, like moving around
uh-huh,
slowly, not fast enough to be a plane, but not
right.
slow enough for it, or to be a meteor or anything like that. But like, I can only describe it as swimming in water. That's what it looks like it's doing, just gliding around, doing its thing.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of them not that long ago, but I've always seen them and always noticed them. Maybe the noticing is just happening more now and people are seeing them more. But there was the whole Three Eye Atlas situation, which again has now been photographed from the Earth by people because it's kind of in view, which is a comet. They call it a comet,
Mm.
an interstellar object from vast. I don't believe any of that nonsense. Obviously, it's just up there above or in the firmament or something like that. But it's
Mhm.
there, not that far away. And God uses these things as a sign or a harbinger usually throughout history. Every time people have seen comets, destruction
Right.
usually follows. Or at least collapse of civilization often follows. I think even the Aztecs saw an enormous comet, and then not long after there was the Cortez turned up, and they believed it was Quetzalcoatl returning because the,
Mhm.
the thing told them, and then their entire civilization was wiped out. So and it's kind of. I feel like maybe because has just been seen in photograph, maybe that is a sign of something. But then even
Mhm.
the media hyped that up as, ooh, it could be aliens. Could it be a spaceship that's answered our call? It's like,
Mhm.
and they're really getting like, an Israeli astronomer to
I
certify that he
know
thinks that actually is the case.
Harvard
Uh,
professor.
dual citizenship Harvard professor, and it's kind of, it could be an alien craft. Who knows? It's got these jets coming out of it,
Mhm.
or these directions. It's not moving the right way. It's going to, like, I don't know. There's lots of hype surrounding this, but
Mhm.
I do wonder. It seems like that's a lot of stuff happening all at once.
Mhm.
It's like the news media cycle about huge events, earthwide events. It's like 10 a day. Like there's something. It's getting a bit intense. And I do think maybe again a little season talk here maybe is amping up to this whole reveal, a big reveal soon
Right.
that's going to completely just shake up everything. Like
Mhm.
we're all here thinking it's one thing, but it's just going to suddenly be something else. You know, like an enormous spaceship suddenly appearing in the sky could do that to you. You know, who knows? Who honestly knows?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to set a date or a time or anything, you know, but it's a lot happening at once right now. Like a lot.
Yeah, we've been primed, man. The pump has been primed. So I don't like earlier with the question of whether or not there's going to be like one faction against another. The way I see it playing out is it's chaos. The chaos is going to be like tons of little factions going after each other. Because let's be honest, like even if you're to say Christian, like more than half the Christians I know fight amongst each other about their denominations. It's not like that's a unified body by any means.
No.
And so I see lots of like little factions of people that are in their own little, you know, algorithm, and the discontentment with the overall is prevalent, right? Which I think is the goal. I think that is the goal. Then there will be this, you know, a savior figure that will come forward, the false savior figure. And then the the Gog Magog thing, like that to me makes the most sense, because I mean, you like it's crazy what's being seen in the sky, like, and it's not all Elon Musk stuff, and it's not, you know, military drones. No, there's like just the timing of how when some of this stuff shows up is just like, no, that's like literally either an angel or a demon or God that are speaking like directly to me or this situation right now. Like that's what that is. That, like, I have a friend of mine local here, like he had one of these glowing orb things sitting on the horizon that he just like sends me films of it every day. And he's called all the different military bases. He's like checked in with the FAA, and like nobody can explain it. And it's like that orb that he has on film that he shot for me. Nobody else, none of his neighbors see it. And he's told them, okay, it's showing up every evening after sunset from 6:30 to 7:30. It's like right there in the western sky. And like, it's like, if you have eyes to see, you see it. If you don't have eyes to see it, you don't. And it's just like my wife and I were talking about God one day in the car. It's like noon and we're driving down the road and we're heading due east, and this fireball in the sky goes over us and it like blows up. And it was already midday and it was like sunny outside. And then that thing exploded and it got even brighter. And it was just like, what, like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know. For me, it's like, it's beautiful, and it's also perplexing because I can't say for certainty what is, and they're all different phenomenon. And like, cause like Paul, like when I studied astronomy for like 3 years doing like real sky celestics, I went 3 years and maybe saw like a little shooting star here and there, to like when things started ramping up after like COVID till now. It's just like, it's like an everyday, like, well, I won't say every day, like every few days there's something like magnificent happening in the sky. That's not normal. That's not like the natural, that's, at least in my consciousness, that's not like the natural way of things.
Well, maybe if we don't want to get too spiritual about it, maybe it's a sign that something is charged in the atmosphere, and it's causing plasma phenomena to appear more common than it used to be, because the atmosphere is charged and we can all feel it. Like there's an energy about, you know, something's happening. And maybe our state of affairs, the anxiety, the fear, the unknown, the war, the tensions is charging everything. And as the more tense it gets down here, the more things you start to see happening up there. Maybe that's what we're seeing. I don't know. Just a theory, an idea, you know. Or it could simply be the heavenly bodies are moving. We're on the move. Something's happening.
Right.
There's a change, there's a mix up. There's that adage, as above, so below. The more chaos we see down here, the more chaos we might start seeing up there as well, maybe, and that's in a very literal sense, up there, down here. But then obviously in the physical and the spiritual world, you can also say this, the more tension and stuff, what's going on here is also happening in the spiritual dimension simultaneously. It's kind of a, you can't help but manifest these visions and signs and symbols and all sorts of things in the sky. And I do see like governments are now admitting UFOs are real and all this type of thing is happening as well. I feel like I think everyone is to the point of desperation where they kind of want it to happen too. It's like, will aliens please just turn up already and put an end to all of this? And that does set the stage for the whole, like I said, the false savior to arise. And I personally, in terms of like timing, I feel like they will turn up in the midst of that horrible bloody war I was talking about earlier. Where it's religious war, political war, ideological warfare on every front, all happening all at once. You know what I mean? And I think in the midst of the destruction, the death, and the chaos, suddenly everyone looks up, this thing's just happened. Everyone drops their differences, comes together as one. How small our petty differences seem now in light of the truth of Lucifer turning up above us, that type of attitude. And then obviously that's how you get the whole world to come together as one, don't you? To make that super army to go to war with the camp of saints.
That's right.
I can only see that as the only way they're going to get us there. But before that happens, it's Albert Pike's letter to Mazzini playing out. It's the Third World War situation first. Which is why I don't want to put time on things, because that can take time to happen. And I think it's in God's time, and I think it's up to him when he'll release the restrainer on the whole situation. I think, again, so long as we are walking in the kingdom and we are doing our best to follow him and we're still here doing what we do, I think he will keep us from it for as long as it takes. It's like I said, God didn't flood the earth until every single desire of man's heart was corruption. You know what I mean? Except for Noah. It took that long. You know what I mean? Like, he gives them a chance. He gives them time. And I feel like we're in that time. The last time as well. The last time Satan has to do his thing too. So there you go. That's summarizing there. We hit the 2 hour mark. We're 2 hours, 1 minute. So we're just going over. I think we're gonna have to call it a night there.
All right, sir.
But that flew by, didn't it? That went fast.
It did. I always love talking to you, so I'm so glad that you invited me on.
No, I enjoy talking to you as well. Obviously, before we go, let the guys know where they can find your work, and again, let them know what it is you do and the website and everything. Here's your chance to just shield for yourself. Go for it.
Yes, my main moniker is Biocharisma, so you can check out my podcast is the Biocharisma Podcast. My video is only on BitChute. I don't put those on YouTube because they've sanctioned me in the past. But I'm on all the podcast players as the Biocharisma Podcast. If you want biochar, you can go to my website, the blackgoldbiochar.com, and that's just a business website that sells biochar. And if you want construction, I have my old dinosaur of a website is topherhq.com, and you can go to that. And on that website too, I have my podcast, that categorized, but everything for me is switching to the new platforms at the moment by the end of the year. So yeah, just if you type in the Biocharisma Podcast, that's where you can like dive into my mind. And if you want some biochar, the new biochar website's awesome.
There we go, guys. The link is in the description of this video to go and get yourself some of that biochar. Again, Chris, thanks for doing this. We'll do it again soon, no doubt. I really appreciate you spending 2 hours with me. It's always a pleasure. It's always a fun conversation. I hope people in the chat enjoyed that too. Like I said, if you want to have a conversation and come onto this channel, you can email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. and we can arrange a time. If you want to get yourself a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, you can go to Amazon and get yourself one. But I do have a new batch of hardcovers. I think I have 6 hardcovers and 4 paperbacks turning up within the week. If you want to get yourself a signed copy, email me again, understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and we can get that sorted for you. But I'm going to have to leave it there, guys. It's late for me. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
See you, Paul.